My name is Claire, and I'm 34 years old. I work as a marketing executive at a bustling advertising firm in downtown Chicago. My life, from the outside, seems perfectly curated, like one of those Instagram feeds where every photo is filtered to perfection. I have a husband, Will, who is as steady as a rock, and two kids who are the light of my life. But beneath the surface, there's a restlessness that I can't quite shake. It all started at the annual company retreat, held at a swanky resort just outside the city. The air was thick with the scent of ambition and the clinking of glasses. I was standing by the bar, swirling a glass of wine, when I made the comment that would set everything in motion. "I could use a little excitement in my life," I said, half-jokingly, to my colleague, Jake. He raised an eyebrow, a smirk playing on his lips. "Careful what you wish for," he replied, his voice laced with a challenge. The words hung in the air, a dare I didn't intend to take seriously. But as the night wore on, fueled by the heady mix of alcohol and the thrill of the forbidden, I found myself drawn to Jake's easy charm. It was everything Will wasn't: spontaneous, unpredictable, a little dangerous. It was just a harmless flirtation, I told myself, nothing more. The next morning, as I nursed a hangover and a guilty conscience, I brushed off the previous night's events. It was just a bit of fun, I reasoned. No harm done. But the seed had been planted, and it was only a matter of time before it took root. Back at the office, things began to shift. Jake and I started having lunch together, our conversations laced with an undercurrent of something more. It was thrilling, this secret world we were creating, hidden from the prying eyes of our colleagues. But with each stolen glance, each whispered conversation, the tension grew. I tried to keep things under control, to maintain the facade of my perfect life. But the more I tried to compartmentalize, the more the lines blurred. I found myself snapping at Will over trivial things, my patience wearing thin. He noticed, of course, but I brushed off his concerns with a dismissive wave. "Just work stress," I lied, the words tasting bitter on my tongue. The first time Jake and I kissed, it was like a dam breaking. We were at a company event, tucked away in a dimly lit corner. His lips were warm and insistent, and for a moment I let myself get lost in the sensation. But as we pulled apart, reality came crashing back. This was wrong. I was playing with fire, and it was only a matter of time before I got burned. Despite my best efforts to keep things casual, the affair took on a life of its own. We started meeting outside of work, our rendezvous becoming more frequent, more intense. I was living a double life, and the weight of my deception was becoming harder to bear. My best friend Sarah was the first to notice something was off. We were having coffee one afternoon when she gave me a long, searching look. "Claire, is everything okay?" she asked, her voice gentle but probing. I hesitated, the urge to confide in her warring with the need to keep my secret. "I'm fine," I said finally, forcing a smile. But the look in her eyes told me she wasn't convinced. As the weeks went by, the cracks in my carefully constructed facade began to show. Will grew more distant, his attempts to reach out met with my defensive walls. I was losing him, and deep down, I knew it was my own doing. But the thrill of my affair with Jake was like a drug, and I was in too deep to stop. The breaking point came one evening, when Will confronted me. I had come home late, the scent of Jake's cologne still clinging to my clothes. Will was waiting for me in the living room, his expression a mix of hurt and anger. "Claire, we need to talk," he said, his voice steady but strained. I felt a chill run down my spine, the moment I had been dreading finally upon me. "About what?" I asked, feigning ignorance. But he wasn't buying it. "I know something's going on," he said, his eyes searching mine for answers. "You've been distant, distracted. You're not the same person I married." The words cut deep, and for a moment I was tempted to come clean, to lay everything bare. But fear held me back, the thought of losing everything too terrifying to contemplate. "It's just work," I said again, the lie sounding hollow even to my own ears. Will's expression hardened, his patience wearing thin. "I don't believe you," he said, his voice rising. "I deserve the truth, Claire. We both do." The confrontation left me shaken, the reality of my actions crashing down around me. I had been so caught up in the thrill of my affair that I hadn't stopped to consider the damage I was causing. I was on the brink of losing everything I held dear, and it was all my fault. In the days that followed, the atmosphere at home was tense. the silence between Will and me deafening. I could feel him slipping away, the distance between us growing with each passing day. I had tried to reach out, to bridge the gap, but my efforts were met with cold indifference. At work, things were no better. Jake and I had become the subject of office gossip, our affair no longer a well-kept secret. The whispers and sidelong glances were a constant reminder of my betrayal, and I found myself dreading each day. Sarah, ever the loyal friend, stood by me, offering support and a shoulder to cry on. But even her patience was wearing thin. "Claire, you need to make a decision," she said one evening, her tone firm but compassionate. "You can't keep living like this. It's not fair to anyone, least of all yourself." Her words struck a chord, and for the first time, I allowed myself to truly reflect on my actions. I had been selfish, reckless, and in my quest for excitement, I had lost sight of what truly mattered. I had hurt the people I loved, and there was no easy way to fix it. In the end, it was Will who made the decision for us. One evening, as we sat in the living room, he turned to me, his expression resigned. "I think we need some time apart," he said, his voice heavy with sadness. "I love you, Claire, but I can't keep living like this." The words hit me like a punch to the gut, the reality of my actions finally sinking in. I had pushed him away, and now I was paying the price. But as painful as it was, I knew it was the right thing to do. We both needed space to heal, to figure out what we truly wanted. As I packed my bags, I felt a sense of clarity wash over me. I had made mistakes, but I was determined to learn from them, to become a better person. It wouldn't be easy, but I was ready to face the consequences of my actions. In the months that followed, I focused on rebuilding my life, on finding happiness within myself, rather than seeking it elsewhere. Will and I remained in contact, our relationship slowly mending as we both worked through our issues. It would take time, but I was hopeful that we could find our way back to each other. As for Jake, our affair ended as abruptly as it had begun. We parted ways amicably, both of us realizing that what we had was never meant to last. It was a chapter in my life that I was ready to close, a lesson learned the hard way. Looking back, I can see how my actions set off a chain of events that changed my life forever. But through the pain and heartache, I found a new sense of self-awareness, a deeper understanding of what truly matters. And for that, I am grateful.